if I do screw up, if there's anything wrong, that there's a good person editing it. That's making sure that what I need to get across is across. So
Yeah, it's
no
number
need
one.
to stress.
It's number one. But with that being said, dude, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the AO Chill podcast. Today I have a crazy guest for you. I believe he runs his own media company. His name is Michael. I've seen some of your YouTube videos, dude. If you want to take a couple minutes, let the people know who you are.
Yeah, for sure. My name is Michael Harrison. I'm from North New Jersey. Was born and raised in Kinnelon. Right now I have a studio in Dover, right by the Rockaway Mall. I own Colony Media Collective. I was started with a friend of mine named Michael also. We're working together, just building up this little brand. My whole goal was to be getting these different local creators together, similar to how you want to be, collaborating with people and giving people a common space. I realize that there's so many people out there freelancing that have, a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And they're just getting out of school. They had a hard time finding careers because of COVID. So I've just been doing my best to work with as many people as I can, gaining connections with different graphic designers, different videographers and producers. We do video production for businesses mostly, whether that's interviews. We do some commercial work that's really, really fun and goofy. We do some explainer videos, things that just help people, get their value across. There's so much competition nowadays. I'm talking to real estate agents, I'm talking to restaurants, and it's like, if you don't have your social media presence, you're not, constantly, or at least consistently, or at least trying at all to make a presence online, let people know that you're not seeing them in person. You gotta let them know online that you're alive, otherwise they're gonna forget about you. If they're not using that advertising space, then someone else is, and someone else is going to be the top of mind restaurant or the top of mind realtor. So just helping people, have that strong, peace of mind that they're advertising 24/7 for themselves.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, dude, damn, you just dropped some gems there talking about social media. Before we even get into all that, because I definitely want to bring that back up because that's a very, very interesting conversation. Tell me a little bit about so you said you're from Kinnelon, right?
Yeah.
How's that part of Jersey? Can you describe it to me?
Yeah, a lot of people think it's the sticks, up in the woods. It's not as rural as like Sussex, but it's definitely up there. We're in Boonton right now. It's like 15 minutes away. Through the woods though. Definitely through the woods, past a farm or two. It's really nice being up here. Had good time growing up in the woods. Hanging out, being able to hike, being able to I don't know. It's interesting now getting to other parts of Jersey more often. Central Jersey and being like, oh man, this is like very urban, compared to what I'm used to. And it's been cool. It's definitely a good area to be growing up in.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I grew up in Little Falls, Patterson, Passaic County area. So I'm very used to I like to call it city burb, right? Because Patterson's like city, you know what I mean? But when you reach towns like Woodland Park or West Patterson, whatever, Little Falls, Totowa, those places are they're not too condensed, but they're not suburbs where there's big houses like on every only 10 houses or 5 houses on the street. I mean, that might sound like a lot for you, but
It definitely depends on the street. I have 3 houses on my street, but nothing too wild. There's some areas with really really big houses. There's a variety in Kinnelon for sure. There's lake houses, small community stuff where it's definitely tighter, but it's not so. There's not much pavement. There's no sidewalks in Kinnelon.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me thinking about it, but it's kind of beautiful seeing it like that. Actually, I had a podcast with somebody who lives. Where does he live exactly? I forget. It's on the most west side of Jersey, maybe 15 minutes away from Allentown type area. So it's basically Pennsylvania. But that part of Jersey is so beautiful, it's so spread out. You know what I mean? It almost feels like I should be riding a motorcycle or a pickup truck. And I could get it. I get it. I get it for sure. But tell me a little bit about your upbringing. How was it? How did you start getting into what you're doing today?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if so much my upbringing, pushed me so much towards what I'm doing right now. Actually, yeah, I guess maybe a little bit. So when I was, I grew up with my, family, 3 older sisters, pretty good age gap. They're in a bunch, 7 years, 8 years, and 10 years older than me. Was raised with my mom, dad. Was playing hockey when I was a kid. Was doing music and everything. Was always super into just learning new things about instruments, getting new gear. I'm a big tech head, a big gear head, and that definitely started when I was young.
Dude, it's always great. It's always great. We love gear heads out here, man.
Yeah. So getting new amps when I was a kid and whatnot was always exciting to me. Getting cool headphones for my birthday was something I'd look forward to. So music technology is kind of something I identify with a lot. When I was 13, my dad died from cancer. He got Yeah, no, it was rough, but it's weird to think about now because it's like who I am, who everyone around me is. Like my whole life is way different because of that. So it's like, who can say what's the better thing to have happened?
Dude,
You know, so
it's a beautiful starting point. I feel like, especially I could definitely relate. I lost my mother 2 years ago during
sorry.
COVID and stuff, right? And it's just like you're looking at basically the product of like,
Mm-hmm.
what happens after, something crazy like that happens. You such a big perspective on life. That's great. So your dad passing, like, did you realize what it was when you were little at that age, or kind of like as you grew up, it kind of became like, like more of a pushing thing for you, like.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like I didn't know exactly what was happening when it was happening. You know, I was
Mm-hmm.
13. He had cancer. In 6 months, he passed away. So it's pretty quick. But I don't think anyone they never sat me like I never sat down with him and they were trying to be like positive and not worry about don't talk about dying, whatever, like stay positive, whatever it is. Um, and so I never got like that big like, hey, I'm gonna die kind of thing. So it was weird when it happened. I remember being shocking, but I had this really great support system with my family, with my church,
That's great.
with
That's
my
great.
neighborhood. Like everyone was super. I don't know, it was amazing. So I think that there were a lot of people there to help me through, like when things would come up. But all in all, I mean, like I think that I came out, pretty good from it.
Yeah, no,
Didn't rebel
you
too
seem very
hard. Didn't
positive. Your vibes are very like
Yeah,
very positive as soon as you walked in too.
yeah,
So
and it's great because he had an awesome life and I had a great time with him. So like I can't, can't complain.
yeah, dude,
Um,
I'm glad. I'm glad.
but yeah, so then I was like 13 when that happened, and like not having my dad, my mom was worried about like money and stuff, and not. I don't know. I've been her therapist for a long time because it's like my sisters are older. They left the house. My dad passed away, and it was just me and her. So would like hear, I don't know, like everything. So like when she was worried about money, whether or not it was warranted at the time, definitely hit me a little bit. So I've learned that I'm a bit of a workaholic, and I've always been a hard worker and put a lot of time into the places I've been working at. And I think that's kind of because of that, because my mom was like, stressed about money. And I was like, okay, I should have some money in my pocket and not bug her about it. I don't ask her for $20 for lunch or something. Um, so I started I started pitching tents, like party tents. Then I started working at a deli, caddied for a little bit. But by the time I was 16, or right before my 16th birthday, I started working at a House of Thai up in Kinnelon, which is a Thai restaurant. Got there right before it opened, was one of the first people they hired there. And spent like 5 days a week, 30, 35 hours a week, working that restaurant from
Damn.
like junior and senior year of college
And
or high school.
were you like a waiter there, or were you
Yeah, I was a
like
waiter there.
oh, sick,
Yeah.
dude, sick,
And yeah, I started right as a waiter when I started. She liked my personality and was like, yeah, let's do it. I bought a car with that I managed to pay off by my freshman year of college,
sick, dude.
like from a
Damn,
dealer. It's like,
congratulations, man.
yeah, that car sense in my past. But I'm proud of that. Definitely, it's. I wish I did more. I wish I invested my money back then. Didn't spend my money, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's kind of dumb to think about now. But yeah, I put just like tons of time into that. But I really liked the selling, like marketing, like connecting with people. So then by the time going around choose what I was going to go to college for, decided that showing people that value. Like I mean, I like to talk about it with Thai dishes because that's what my first marketing thing was like. Oh, like what is, like I would learn something about them and then I'd be like, oh, let me connect that to a dish and get you to buy a dish and get you to buy a dessert and a drink, whatever, and get higher bills and do a better job. So I think that kind of like naturally led me to apply for marketing schools. And then I minored in video production all throughout school and middle school, high school. I've really, really enjoyed, whenever it was an essay or a video project, I would always go for the video route, and I would make movies with my friends. And I have like old YouTube videos from like 2000, probably 2009, 2010, just like old like trailer clips that we would do. We'd take the project that they'd have, for us in like reading class, and we'd blow it up into something completely different. But I was doing green screen in middle school, like in high school, kept doing that. So I went to school for marketing, video production. And that kind of just led me towards like, this is what I want to be doing in my future. I don't know what capacity it was at that point that I'd be starting my own business, but that was kind of like, what I think set me up for having that like desire to be in this industry.
Damn, that's really sick, dude. So how did it like get directly from this, and then like, cause I know you shot a video for House of Thai before. I peeped that on your YouTube channel. You have a couple videos on there we're gonna get to talk about. But so what was your first gig? Actually, like, was House of Thai your first gig, like recording something?
For like production, so I graduated in 2020, right when COVID hit. Like, so I missed like my spring break happened my senior year, and they said just stay home. Um, which was interesting. I graduated last weekend, actually, like ceremony graduated.
Oh,
Um,
how old are you, by the way?
I'm 23.
Okay,
Turn 24 next month.
all right, sick, sick, sick. Where'd you graduate from?
Marist College in Poughkeepsie.
Sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
And how was that? How's the school for over there like?
It was a good school. It was right in the Hudson. It was windy. Would lose my hat in this
Hmm.
corridor like every day. But I loved it up there. I worked at a French restaurant, and I did too many days there too. To work 30, 35 hours at a French place all throughout college, which was amazing. Loved it there. Loved the food. Loved meeting people. I started a fraternity, or I joined the founding father class in a fraternity my
Sick.
freshman year, which was great. I was pretty gung ho with that throughout my whole college career, and was kind of the jerk that tried to keep people up to like the standard that we had originally,
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
I'm a little bit bitter about it because it could have been cool, but
Hey, dude,
yeah.
nah, I get you, dude. I actually, it's funny. I'm hearing some like similarities that we have. I actually, when I went to college, I joined a fraternity my freshman year. It was called Phi Mu Alpha, and it's a music fraternity. And I ended up just being like, I was the same way. I was like, I really wanted to just like it to be great. I remember when I first joined, it was kind of like, eh. And then like we built it up, built it up, built it up, and then like I worked myself from like secretary to like this to this, and then I was president like my senior year of like college, and like it's just cool being in those leadership positions and making something like cool for people, and letting a legacy live. I definitely get that. That's sick. And so it's funny. Like you said, you're a waiter and stuff. I actually being a waiter was my last job I had before I quit all my jobs to pursue this full time. Right. How was the waiter life for you, dude?
I It's like the best and the worst job, like I would tell every 16-year-old to do it, but like the money can be great, if you're in the right place. I mean, I've done it for like 8 years, like I've done it for a while. I bartended for 4 years.
Oh shit.
um,
Word.
yeah, in different capacities, like at the French place, like fancy 5 ingredient cocktail stuff, or like slinging beer for college kids, pouring shots in the middle of the night, till 4
Damn.
a.m. in Bloomingdale. Or doing like, yeah, I don't know, I've done a bunch of, the whole slew of it all. I think I'm a good bartender though. Definitely like that.
You seem because you got like the nice tattoos on the left, so I feel like I could see you,
Yeah,
in
no,
your bartending scene.
people tell me that they enjoy me being their server and bartender. So I'm like, that's the one thing. It's weird. That's like the thing that I'm like most like an expert in. It's kind of because I've done it for so long. It's been like my most experience. And I've been had to make money off of it and been able to like I don't slack about it. I take it like seriously. So that's like it's funny. That's the thing where I'm like, oh no, I'm the expert in this. But, I like it. Restaurant owners are always tricky to work with. I've been in small corporate scenes, and that's tricky to work with. There's just always issues. It's not restaurants are places that there's not much. It's not usually calm, not usually easygoing. But I've been able to put myself in restaurants where the food's expensive and the bills get really high, and
That's
they
the way
get
to
crowded.
do it. That's the way to do it for sure.
And you just have to, yeah, I just say like you have to get that experience. I mean, you have to like the people you work with. I make great friends with my coworkers every place I go to. I still like will text people all the time, just be like, hey, I was thinking about this restaurant the other day. I was thinking about you, whatever. And I like, always like meeting new people, new clients and everything, and having repeat clients. And they come in for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and then they leave. So if you're not having a good time, in 2 hours, it's going to be a completely different scene, so it'll be fine. And I was just chasing the bag for so long that I think it's a great tool of a job, but not sustainable.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I only lasted as a waiter for like 6 months. And it wasn't it was kind of like I wanted to be a bartender because I thought the money was in bartending, right? And at the time I didn't think I was gonna pursue this full time. So my friend was working at a restaurant and his boss was like, "Don't go to bartending school." He was like, "Just I'll show you how to do it, but you have to work from the bottom up." And I was like, "All right." 6 months later, I'm still not doing jack shit, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go do my thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then that's when I did this. But that's sick. That's sick because I think everybody should be in like the service industry at some point. Like there's the amount of people you deal with and also learning how to I don't know, like because in the end of the day, it's not like you want to call your manager or have like a problem and shit. The name of the game is get them down. They sit down, get them their food, and get them to leave so you could send another person and make more money. You know what I mean? And also have them have a good time so that maybe they give you an extra little tip because you're
Yep.
being nice and stuff. Do you have any crazy stories from when you were being a waiter?
Oh man, I don't know if there's ones that I should share.
I mean, it's an open space, but I'm not gonna make you say anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if
I'd
there's any
say
time,
I'd say the most like cliche thing that I've experienced. I mean, I see coworkers do crazy stuff all the time, you know, like on who knows what sometimes, you know, or consuming various things, you know, like out of plastic bags during, you know, whatever. And working alongside them is always funny. But I think like the classic, like people say, like, oh, bartenders have to be therapists or whatever. I've had someone who he was like he came into the bar. It was lunch. It was a lunch shift or something on a. I think it was on a weekday. I was working a lunch shift, which I usually don't do. I'm always like a dinner person. I have like I think you have to have good standards, and doing lunch stuff is entry level. I think unless it's a special place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I remember it was like especially early or like an off time empty bar. This guy comes and sits down, starts having like some beer or whatever, is chatting with me. Turns out that he's the dad of someone who went to school with my sisters, and he knows like my whole family, whatever. He's like, oh, ask your sisters if they know who I am, whatever. And I text them, and they're like, yeah, that's whoever's dad. And then he starts telling me, I don't know, just a little bit about his life after that. After he established he knew me, he's telling me like, oh yeah, you know, things with my wife are interesting right now. You know, I don't think she wouldn't even hug me on the way out. You know, we haven't had sex in God knows how long, whatever it is. And he's like having a beer, and then he orders a vodka soda, and he's drinking the vodka soda, and he's like, yeah, you know, I had to walk down here from this neighborhood that's not close, you know, probably a good like 20, 30-minute walk. I guess he walked down to the bar. He had to walk down, you know, from my house because I had to get a haircut and I got a DUI, you know, and, you know, I have a problem drinking. And, you know, it's once I start drinking hard liquor, that's when I know I'm just drinking all day. And he's like halfway through a vodka soda. And I was like, dude, you should have said that before. I wouldn't have started. Like, I feel pretty uncomfortable here. So he has like a couple more drinks. Like, I don't let it get too far, but he has a couple more drinks. Then he decides that he's going to go to the Stumble Inn, which is a much. It's the local town bar, you know. It's the beer and shop bar, you know.
Grimy, you know
yeah,
what I mean?
so I think
Cheap
he
drinks.
was going to spend the rest of the afternoon there, or the whole day. It was still like it was like 12:30 by the time he left. But I was like, he left, and I was like, why would you establish this with me and then talk about like your marital issues and like all this? I go home like I can't. Like, oh, I was talking to Mr. Whatever. I was like, I don't.
Yeah, people are weird, and in the town, in the little homey little bars, you know what I mean. I feel like sometimes they're just like you just be hearing weird shit. And people sometimes like, I think even me like. I usually don't even drink on the podcast too much. You know, when people want to come on and have a couple of drinks, it's great. But I think in my early episodes, like me and my friends all got together and we had no idea what we were gonna talk about, but we knew we were just gonna throw back like a whole bunch of drinks. One thing leads to another, and we're just talking about like bullshit. You know what I mean? Just bullshit. You know what I mean? He's talking about like, yeah, I ate this girl's ass or something like that. I'm like, Jesus. I was like, all right, dude, I guess we're talking about this. And it's like a 30-minute like conversation about eating ass. I'm like, you know, liquor has a good way of loosening people up, you know what I mean? Like to a certain extent. But when you get too much, it's like, and then when you meet those people, it's like, damn. And they're walking out and you're just like, well, I hope you're good, you know. But as a bartender, that's kind of like nerve wracking too, because like, you can't let a person get to that point and then like, you know, they're driving and then it's on you, you know.
Yep, there's been some close calls in places I've worked where someone's crashed the car later that night.
Word.
And it's like, oh well, that person was, you know, we were told that someone else in the car was driving or whatever it was, and yeah, it can get kind of freaky.
Yeah, that shit's wild. So tell me about how the beginning of your company started. Like, when was this vision started? Like, did you know what was gonna happen, or?
Yep. So I was working at River Beer up in Bloomingdale after COVID, or like right in the middle of COVID, during COVID, whatever. I was meeting a whole bunch of people. There were a lot of dogs out because everyone's bringing the dogs for outdoor seating, and everyone's getting new dogs because of COVID. So I when I graduated college, I bought myself a Sony A7 III for, you know, graduation gift for myself.
Sick.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna do job apps, but let's see what I can do with this. And I just got out of film photography class in college, which I fell in love with photography. I was doing, you know, avid editing. I'm a certified editor and did all that stuff in, you know, in college also, Photoshop, certified, all that kind of stuff. So was taking pictures of dogs outside, you know, just like you'd be serving and be like, hey, I have my camera, can I take a few pictures? And I would send them to the owners would post them, they would tag me on, you know, an old account that I was using at the time.
And you would be doing this for free, or?
Yeah, I was just serving, bartending, was like, yeah, let me
sick.
just snap a few pictures, you know. I wasn't trying to, you know, just trying to build a portfolio, see if I can get some followers on the page. And then someone asked me, oh, like, I love the pictures you took of my dog. Can you, you know, I want to get my friend a birthday gift. I want to take pictures of his car. So then they hired me to go out up to Harriman State Park and take pictures of the car.
Harriman State Park is dope, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome. So we got to take, you know, a set of photos up there. So still some of, like, my favorite photos for being so, like, amateur now compared to what I know. So did that, and then from those, had someone reach out, also from the bar about shooting their wedding, and they paid me to shoot their wedding. And I was doing all these projects with my I don't want to say ex partner because we're still working together, but my with Mike, and we were just working together. And I had tried to earlier in COVID. Guess this is skipped over a little bit here. It's early in COVID. I tried to start something up with another friend called Burnt Hearth Media or Burnt Hearth Marketing, but he got accepted into firefighting school and decided not to pursue graphic design. So I kind of I went through the process of building up a business and like LLCing a name and doing logos and like I don't know, like all the baseline stuff.
And you're saying like media marketing. So like at this point, are you looking more towards like that route of like media and marketing, or are you looking more towards like, just taking photography sets because you said you worked the wedding and they're like, usually it's like, so and so photography, not media marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely been like a lot of like pulling, as I get demands in different, areas and figure out what it is that I'm best at. Being so young and, like I said, 8 years of service experience, but only so many years of video experience, like how much am I, I'm going to know a lot more about what I'm good at, as time goes on. But at first it was mostly where I was doing like the photos, whatever, but my focus was to go into restaurant photography and do like social media marketing and helping them with that. Going into places once a month, once every 3 months, getting a set of photos, scheduling them, doing interactions on their page. That was like the original goal. But then, so this guy backed out, I was back on my own thing, was working with Mike, and he's, a good drone person, video person. So I was just kind of managing different projects. Right now, a lot of what I do is just producing because I'm not great. It's important when you're, when starting my business right now, to get them whatever money I can, to a certain extent. I don't lower my standards on jobs, but I don't say no because of the breadth of jobs right now. So I know someone who's amazing at real estate photos and does really good drone work. So if I have a realtor say, hey, do you do real estate photos? I facilitate that conversation. I'm helping connecting with these people. And I'm seeing who's available on those days and kind of taking the work away for the realtor who asked me personally to help them. So I find myself doing a little bit of everything, and then looking towards the future. Saying this is what I'm going to be doing, or what it is I tell people I'm doing. So it was kind of all over the place at first. Now, what I mostly do, I'm not looking to personally do social media management or anything. I'm just going to be a liaison for someone else. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, social media management is a lot.
So I have one client who I started off with that with, and they did. They're like a retainer client that I have, and it's great for my business, and they're a good company to work with. So still doing that with them. But most of my work is just like one-off videos. Or not one-off, but it's usually a lot of return clients. But it's like a one project kind of video. Not like a set of, social media kind of stuff. Or photo sets. I'll do headshots for companies. A lot of people need fresh headshots. That's a great way. I was talking to someone who's in Nashville, and he does corporate videos, interior photos, like for the beauty of it, not for selling, and headshots. So he goes up to a company, and they'll usually hire him for headshots because it's a low budget item. And then he is in the set, and he says, while he's taking the photos, I was just over at this competitor's place, whatever, drop a name and say doing, a corporate video for their website, whatever it is. And then he gets them in on something that's more big budget than that. And then they can refer them for either one of those services. So it's a good way to have, good coverage. So it was all over the place. Now it's mostly video production and branding photography is how I describe myself.
So when would you say so do you have the LLC to your company? So when did that officially start?
That was 9 months ago that we were
so
together.
So this is kind of like a new kind of journey for you then, right?
Yep. Yeah. So this whole freelancing thing is probably over the course of, now it's been 2 years that, I've been doing these light photos and videos and stuff. A year and a half ago was doing the first business venture that fell through. And then over the last 9 months was doing it. Mostly I'd say I do a lot of the driving myself. My partner does a good job, editing and doing. Now he does freelance work with under me, drone operation kind of stuff. But definitely still fresh, definitely still new, but it's been really cool.
Yeah, dude. So what's your favorite thing to do right now?
Client wise, we just did a commercial for a company out in Pittsburgh. It's a weight loss company. It was our second commercial for them in a series of, we're doing 7 with them. But the second one, we were able to double the budget from the first one, bring in like a whole, crew. I had 10 people on set who were working the project, 3 actors, 4 actors, 2 locations. And that was just a lot of fun doing something that was like, bigger production style.
So this sounds like, was that your first big production style type thing? Or
we usually have I like to have 6 people on set. is usually like the number, because for like a right now our numbers around like 5,000 ish commercial would allow me to have something like that, like a 6-person set, something like that. But I was able to bring like a whole, like I didn't have to use any of my lights from my studio. I didn't pack up anything out of my studio except for my cameras. Everything else, like, set wise, was all, stuff that was brought by other people.
Wow. All right. So I'm trying to see like I'm trying to like pinpoint the exact kind of point where like you first got like your big first project. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because like
I could tell you.
it's a big step to go from and especially for people who aren't really sure about like how all this stuff works. Because I've been like on camera sets and like I've always wanted to do like photo shoots and stuff, but when you really start getting to the nitty gritty of stuff and expanding, I mean getting the light like all set up, getting the actual lights, paying for them. I mean, just in general, like for this one light that we have here, the light box is like 200. The stand is another like 80,
Yeah, it's a nice
and then
stand.
the lights itself is like 200,
Yeah.
right? So right there you're talking and then you're talking about renting that out, or if it's your own equipment, then you're also risking it getting fucked up and stuff. And then also when you're talking with a client, and I know I'm throwing a lot of shit
No,
out
no,
here,
this is exactly what I think about all the time.
you're talking to a client, you're like, damn, like number one, I have to be punctual, I have to be like I have to be like respectful, I want them to come back to me, but also not throw them a price where it's like, yo, this is crazy. And then especially when you're new at this, or your company hasn't been around as long, and you're throwing out a price a day and you know your value, you don't want to scare off the client. You know what I mean? Like where was kind of like that first project? Because like I said, once you get used to headshots, small commercials and stuff like that stuff, comparative to me, like is like easy. You know what I mean? Obviously it's not easy in general, right? It's work, but comparative to these big projects, it's like, can you describe what was your first big project?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many people online that tell you like charge whatever you want to charge, and I didn't believe it at first, kind of thing. But I started off the wedding at a normal budget, like a $2,000 budget for the wedding, and we did photo and video actually, so we totally overblessed them. But we, for what they wanted, the photos, they paid us a normal budget, and we just took the opportunity to do more there. And then we were doing like $400 video for a realtor, like $100 listing photos, like really dirt cheap stuff. And I was like, why are like it takes so much time. If I'm going to shoot a video, the day before, I'm in my studio for at least an hour packing everything up. I had to drive to the studio at some point. I had to pack everything up. Like it takes a good amount of time. I have to clear my memory cards. I have to whatever. Like there's so many extra things that are related that I was like, I just can't be like nickel and diming with these like little things anymore. So like my headshot prices went up, and like it costs money for me to go mobile now. I'm not just like, oh yeah, I'll bring my stuff for like no charge. Like it's gonna take time, right? And I was joining these. I'm just all about networking. Like I'm in the North Jersey Chamber of Commerce. I'm in Be Sure networking groups that are like local groups. I'm in like Tech United. I'm in like a U.S. manufacturing group, just trying to meet as many people as I can.
These groups are like facilitated through what?
North Jersey Chamber of Commerce is like, chambers are just like regional groups. I think it's private. And it's just like a network of all businesses in North Jersey.
And you guys communicate through like a website?
Yeah, website, Facebook,
Okay,
LinkedIn. They're super, super, super active at all that. We do like events all the time, grand openings of new people who are joining the event or who are joining the commerce. They do like trainings, they do online stuff, like webinars every week, like how to build a business plan or how to manage your finances and whatnot. There's a lot of resources like that. I'm in Tech United, which is like the New Jersey tech company or New Jersey, New York tech company group. I just joined that recently, and that's like big corporate people. So I'm just trying to see if I can get some headshot events in there, see if I can do a video or two, whatever it is. And Be Sure networking groups are kind of like, the tip groups or like, local networking groups. So I'm in his Wayne group. This is one person who runs it. It's like a private thing. He just runs this networking, like bunch of these networking groups. He has like 10 of them across North Jersey. Just different avenues of networking and stuff. That's led me to connect with different videographers. Also through my church, I got connected with somebody who's been mentoring me, and he will invite me on a set where, like, I was on my first 10-person set with him. I was on my first 15-person set with him. The other week, I was on a set with Leo Justiniano, actually.
Yeah, that's my boy, bro.
Yeah, so
That's
I've
my
been
boy.
working with him a bunch. I invited him up I connected him with, he's been doing work with my mentor, which is awesome.
Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah, meant to
Yo,
talk.
shouts out Leo, bro. I love that,
Leo's
man.
the
Love
man.
that, man.
Yeah, we were just in the city shooting like a Stranger Things event for Netflix,
That's sick.
which was
That's
really,
sick.
really cool. but there was like a helicopter backing up. Like there was a like a B camera flying on a helicopter, and they were shooting the whole event. So I'm like, this is a big team. So seeing these bigger teams and knowing like that they're just charging, like, I'll also hear someone say for an interview that they're charging $15,000, and it's like, it's just the amount of resources that you want behind it. Like, do you want it to be a little, like you bring your CEO in and there's a guy, like one or two people helping mic him up or whatever, and there's maybe a few snacks on the side or something, or do you want it to be that everyone has one job and there's one person who's making him feel good, the talent feel good the entire time, or the client, and there's like a nice meal so that they're going to feel, special. It's more about like giving that big experience too.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It's definitely huge, and it's something that I want to get better at too. You know what I mean? Because I like bringing people down here. Like you got a little tour of the studio a little bit before. Yeah, I would like to do something better. Because like I said, it is a big experience thing. And making people remember you and be like, oh shit, who's that company that did this? You know what I mean? And you bring the vibes, and a lot of it is just yourself too.
Yeah. And it is expensive though. That's the only problem. Like I want every set to be like, like that commercial is like a $10,000 commercial. I'd rather every set be a $10,000 commercial, but like knowing that there's like a bottom line of like how few resources do I want to work with. There's at one point like I could make a video for like $1,000 and not hire anyone except for myself, but then I'm gonna lug around all the gear myself. I'm gonna like I've had clients who want low budgets, and then it's just me on set because I can't hire someone else. They're gonna have to carry a light over to the next room or something. Like, is that really what they want to do?
Yeah.
So there's like a bottom floor now that I realize people say like charge whatever, and obviously it has to be reasonable. But for the amount of experience I have, I just have this floor where it's like I'm not going to be doing. I have to hold myself accountable to at least this amount, And like maybe I'll do someone a favor, maybe a job's easy, whatever it is. But like if I want to produce quality work, then I have to charge. Like it's this rat race, Like I want to produce work that costs a lot of money to make, but if I'm not going to ask for it, then I'm never going to make the work, and I'm never going to be able to get better and better. And now I'm able to hire people who are like, I'm a jack of all trades. I love gear. I love tech. I was in business school. I was in media school, like editing school. And so I know a lot of languages. I know how, I'm a great second hand for a lot of people. If you're an expert, you want me next to you because I probably know like a ton about that and a bunch of other stuff. But I'm not usually like the expert. No one's hiring me, charging. I'm not charging $1,000 a day to edit video. If I was a video editor, that's what I would do. But I'm really just in that producing role now where I'm saying, I want the lighting to be great, so I'm going to hire my mentor who has a grip truck, and does lighting all the time, or I'm going to hire, I want the camera movement to be perfect. I'm not, like, I'm good at, working with the camera, but am I great at walking with the camera or doing, like, zooms or, maybe there's special stuff. I'm going to hire someone for that. And that's just my goal, is to bring better people on as often as I can.
So you talked about how your first big set was with your mentor. Mm-hmm. Who's your mentor?
His name's Sean Conlon. He owns Ferrum Creative. And he's just like he's a videographer who started, freelancing when he was younger, like 20, something like that, outside of college. And he's just has made a name for himself. It's really cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Is he based out here in Jersey?
Yeah, he's in Montclair.
Oh, that's sick.
And like the web of people that he knows, he works with a lot of people who get hired under Netflix. So he's working on Netflix sets a lot. And he has a little group of, he calls it his friend group. It's like his work friend group. So it's like just like 10 dudes, and whoever gets the job usually hires everybody else. And that's just kind of how creatives work, where they're like, okay, yeah, so like a client reached out to me, so I get the bigger cut, and I'm going to produce it by getting everyone else together, and then I'm going to hire my friends. So sometimes he'll get bigger jobs and he'll hire people, and sometimes they'll get bigger jobs. Yeah, it's really cool, like the little network that he has.
That's sick. So talk to me about the first time you were on a big set, and like, for example, did you say your first one was like 5 people, 10 people?
I'd say it was probably 10 people. It went from like just me, like instead of it, like the biggest set being like me, my partner, and like one other person, maybe went from like 4 people total. Yeah, going to like one where there's a lot more crew working on it.
So what are these people doing?
There's the director of photography, who's just the camera operator, but that's his task. There's a director who's making sure that everything the director of photography is getting is right, and that all the words are being spoken right, and everything looks good overall. There's going to be a gaffer who's going to be doing like all the lighting, have all the stands and everything. The director of photography tells them how to light and everything like that. And then there's assistant cameras who are on set who might change lenses for the director of photography. So the director of photography, he just worries about doing the camera, not managing any of the parts. So if there's new lens that needs to get put on, someone who's not the camera guy is going to get it. And that's where it's like, okay, well, that's an extra person just for one individual task, like just to put in a new battery for the camera. The guy who's, if you're on set and you're doing the camera and your battery is about to die, you're not leaving the camera. Someone's going and getting it for you. So I think those are like the main parts of that. And then I was there as a PA, a production assistant, and I ended up just doing the teleprompter the whole time. And PAs just get given like random jobs, like whatever needs to get done on that day. Something needs to get held, like a diffuser needs to get held up in the air. That's a PA's job or whatever. So, yeah, and I think that was shot at my church. It was a project that Sean got from a company called Young Life, which is like a community group or like a like a ministry program. I forget exactly what. I think it's mostly for like high schoolers. But they flew someone out. They flew out the director from Utah. So I was like just there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go pick up this director from the airport," and he flew back that night. So he just went in for like the 3-hour shoot.
Damn.
And it was just so that they can make sure that the lighting was good, that the person delivered it right. But he's like the director for all the content that goes out of this company, and is like the the one who puts the mark of approval on. So they have to fly him out. And that's when I was like, wow, you have to budget for that. Like that costs money. I'm like, that's kind of. So I remember talking and being like, Sean, doesn't it cost a lot of money to have like you with your truck, plus 2 random kids that you brought and are also paying, like a few $100 too, plus 4 other professionals, who do like camera stuff and whatever it is that they were doing that day. And luckily the actors were free, it was just like, volunteers, but flying the guy out. And I was like, okay, that was kind of the first time where I'm like, okay, I see why like that would cost money, flying someone out. And then after mulling it over, I'm like, I guess that makes sense that they do that. It's not like crazy. And then through Sean also, there's a company called Adorama. They're a camera company in New York City.
Yeah,
and
I've heard of them before.
Yeah, they're really, really big. But they do like rentals too. So Sean was chosen as Filmmaker of the Week for Adorama, or as Filmmakers Week. And they had him do a feature where they gave him like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gear. I think it was like $500,000 of gear. And they gave him like an Alexa Mini LF, which is like a cinema camera. Like, I'm sure, I don't know what movies got shot on it, but movies get shot on it. Like a case of lenses that cost like $90,000 for the whole case, just for like 5 lenses. Gave him like this whole insane setup, and I have some nice cameras, so he asked me to shoot B-roll for them. But I was talking to someone who was on that set, and he was like just local to Montclair also, and he's like, yeah, I mostly do, I started doing music videos, whatever, got really good music videos. I do like Wild and Out kind of stuff. He does the Breakfast Club. He like is a cinematographer for the Breakfast Club podcast. Like he's really big, and yeah, it's crazy seeing his stories on Instagram. But then he was like, yeah, and I'll get hired by like, and this guy's like tatted like up to the neck, down the hands, completely. He's like, yeah, I got hired by like Bergman Sachs or like or Goldman Sachs or whatever it is. He's like, and they'll give me like $100,000, $150,000 budget to do one feature on a partner in the company. So someone who's really successful, has made a bunch of money, has a private jet, has a mansion, whatever it is. He'll just go follow that person around for a weekend, get like some crazy clips of them, some interview video, whatever it is. And it'll be just for internal use in the company. So that if you're like a first year person, you might watch the video and then get inspired to be like this guy one day. And I'm like, you're getting paid that much? He's like, yeah, and I'll take like half of it home and I'll spend half of it on like a ridiculous weekend where I'll give this guy, like I'll make sure that we're all having a great time and that whatever it is. Because that way that partner will say, I had a great time, let's hire him again. And then I get video of this guy like flexing a bunch. And I'm like, that's crazy. So I hear about like that type of money people have, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do a $500 video anymore. Like,
it's funny that you bring that up, because it's like the more I get into the podcasting game and seeing like going through all this shit, like I actually just had a conversation the other day. I shot a podcast. I forget with who I was talking about this with, but we were talking about how a lot of people come from different backgrounds, right? And for me, like I grew up Little Falls, Patterson, and I also did like theater and acting growing up, right? And that's kind of where I met most of the different people, like different classes, people, types of people, like people where they're from. And when I'm chilling with some of my family in Patterson, we might be smoking hookah in like a moldy basement playing dominoes, right? And that's the vibe, you know what I mean? That we're fucking happy and we're doing our shit and we're getting drunk in a moldy basement, playing dominoes, and for us that's crazy, you know what I mean? And there's no AC in the basement, and we're eating fucking ice pops, bro, to stay cool. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget. There's this other. I remember. I was on another podcast. This guy named Sully Bop. He's great, man. Definitely check him out. But I was talking about how I would be doing shit like that, and then also like through theater. You have theater parties like after. And like, oh, come over to my house. This one girl invited us over her house, dude, and she just had money, bro. Like beautiful house, basement, like giant, like had like a wine cellar in there. Dad I think played for Duke or something. Had
Yeah.
had
Wow.
his shit like in what do you call it, in a frame and stuff, lights, had every single gaming system, flat screen TV, shit. Like I was like, whoa, I've never seen this shit before. You know what I mean? But kind of circling back to what you were saying, you're saying like 150K, for like a week. You're filming these people. For me, it's like, how do you choose between, like, what do you feel is more important for you right now? Like more of the experience, or do you feel like money is more of a driver for you? Because like, for example, I feel like people are so obsessed with getting a lot of money, but I feel like it honestly, maybe for filmmakers and photographers, it's valid. You know what I mean? Because then how else are you making big bucks with what you're trying to do? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I meet people wherever they're at, like I don't, if someone, like when I do, a new realtor or something, if they're doing a branding video, new realtor, whatever it is, I'm just going to tell them that they don't need those big resources where they're not, I make sure that people get the value that they need. They're pushing their value onto their clients, but I just have to deliver the value that I'm giving to my clients. So that doesn't mean overselling them. If I was a waiter and I gave people, two appetizers, two entrees, and two desserts for one person, I might make a lot of money, but they're not going to have a good time, and it doesn't make sense for anybody at the table really,
That's
besides me
that's a
just
great that's a
bringing
great
the
way of
bill up.
putting it.
If I can get them to, if someone wants a pre-dinner drink and an appetizer and an entree with a drink, and there's a way to build it in the right way, and they can, they're not going to hate me and never come back because I raised their bill so high. Then like, I have to, price people what, at the value that the project is worth. I'm not going to overcharge because it doesn't, whatever it is. But I mean, I've done stuff, for my passions, like vlogging, and I used to stream on Twitch. I used to like all the time. I did a month long, I streamed every day for a month when COVID hit.
That's sick.
Yeah,
How did that come out for you?
it went really well actually. Yeah, I got like, it was crazy. I got like 250 followers, which isn't nuts, but in a
Hey,
month I was,
250 fucking people
yeah,
following you.
it
That's
was
that's
sweet.
dope.
And like I would tell, I would try to have set times, and if I missed my set times, I'd have at least like 3 people messaging me like, "Hey, are you not going on today?" Or like when I did like put up my stream starting in 5 minutes, I'd get like 10 people waiting, and I'm like, this is crazy that people are like waiting. And most, some people were just like, "Hey, I'm gonna just go ghost," but wanted to have my number on. And it's like, I appreciate that. Um, and that was great. And I enjoyed working on this passion things. But like once I was like, all right, I'm starting a business, and I got into my studio really early in the business. We got those first few jobs, and I was like, I'm just gonna send it. I have a little bit. I have made money from serving. I was like, I have this little bit of a nest. I'm living at home right now. COVID's, everything's slow. Why not just like really see what can happen right now? So I think I got set a little bit on like I can't really do the passion thing. It was not really, I'm always, there's a lot to do. So it's hard to say, okay, I'm going to push all this stuff to the side and do the same exact stuff, but for free and for myself. It's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, for sure.
When a lot of like the passion things would be like a mini documentary or something, but that's more videoing, that's more editing, that's more the work that I'm doing. So trying to find like, yeah, I don't know. So like the experience, making sure that I want to, like, to answer your original question, experience versus money. I think it's like the balance a little bit, because I do want to have more time for my passion stuff and do work that's just for experience. And for the work that my mentor gives me, I don't ask him what my rates are for the day, like how much I'm getting paid. He schedules me, and then he tells me what to invoice him after. And I'm always happy with the amount of money. He never gyps me, but I first and foremost want to be on the set. So I definitely do feel like, especially if it's not my clients, then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not going to get this opportunity otherwise if I don't accept your rate. So, money's not the biggest deal. But I do think that, like, you just can't, you got to have some stuff that's, for the money, or
No,
if someone can afford it, then
for
you got to
sure.
ask. So like, I want to do every job or most jobs that come across, but I get told no. And sometimes it'll be So, like, already, you tack on tack on an extra $1,000 onto the bill. If it's a high enough bill, then someone might not care. But you think like I'm going to be putting extra time into this, or if I'm going to put an extra $1,000 on this, but I'm going to have an extra $1,000 if I care into this. So they could be paying for that also. And I've had people say no, and then I'm like, oh, is there a better rate? And they just don't want to barter with me or whatever it is. I found that a lot of people are really accepting of the prices that I say. They just are like, they take it as that's my rate, and they don't try to barter with me. I've heard females in the industry say that they'll get bartered with a little bit more. I think bartering is normal, depending on what the budget is. You can't just pay someone whatever it is that they want, just because they say it.
I'm definitely the type to barter too. Like that's just I grew up with that shit, so it's like I'm from originally from not originally from my whole family's originally from Peru.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first one to be born in the United States, and in Peru, when you're in the market over there, it's like it's always bartering, haggling. I guess is another word you can use for it. Where are you originally from? Where like your background?
I've been in Kinnelon my whole life.
Word.
My family got my great grandma's from Ireland. Got like German, Welsh. I usually say Welsh. It's kind of like I'm a European mutt. It seems nothing.
Do you speak any like?
No, I wish. Yeah, I appreciate cultures so much, and it's like upsetting to me that I don't have a culture to like heavily identify with. I spent time. My sister's like world travelers. Does a lot of what is she? She's a public health person. So she goes to like Guatemala and goes to Ecuador, goes to Tanzania. Just been like all over the globe. Doing programs for people. She does programs where she brings cameras to kids and has them document their lives instead of people going there to take photos of them. So she showed me like a lot about cultures, and like she was supporting women who are working with their hands and like making products, make sure they don't get taken advantage of, and learned a lot about that. Went to New Zealand for a week in an abroad trip and learned a lot about the Maori people and how they're fighting for their rights and trying to get like just their indigenous land protected and all these kind of things. And they have like face tattoos that are just such an outward expression of their culture and their community and everything, and I appreciate that so much. So it's
dude. I actually in love with you said Mari.
Yeah.
Mari people. I love their haka dances, dude. Like that just expression of just like just hitting your chest, and it's just like I don't know, like I don't know if the right word is like primal, but it's just like it's just like such a visceral out thing to see, even when I know rugby is a big sport out there as well, and then them seeing their rugby team do it, their female rugby team do it as well, and that shit looks intense. Super intense.
And I've had them like I've seen haka in real life, but I've spoken to a lot of like people who are Maori, and just like so many incredible people. I want to go back so bad, but they've shown me the faces that they there's like different faces that mean different things, so they can like pose in those faces, and they like can talk about like what is that their tattoos mean, like for their tribal history and everything. And I think that it's really really cool how connected they are to that, and they like I think that seeing them do the haka, it's like they understand what their like the original intention was for it and everything, and they do a really good job of like it was a war chant, so they do a good job of like they don't phone it in. You feel that that primal feeling. I think that is preserved throughout the generations is like really really cool.
So talk to me more about, so you have your own studio space.
Yeah,
it's out in Kinnelon.
It's in Dover.
Oh, it's in Dover.
Yeah, so it's off of 80 near the Rock. Well, it's right off 46 next to the Dover Dairy Maid.
Right.
Yeah, next to the Rockaway Mall.
So how did you come? So you said like it was kind of like after COVID, during COVID, kind of where you were finding the space.
Yeah, it was like a month after we LLC'd. We were working at my basement in Kinnelon, and I was just not motivated because I spent all of COVID in my basement, and I was like turned into a workspace, and then was like. I have 6 nieces and nephews, and they were like coming by my house every day. And like I'm in my basement, I hear them playing upstairs in the summertime, and I'm like, I want to go just play with them. Like got to live life, but I want to start this business. So was just looking for spaces. Found out that they weren't crazy expensive. You can get something that's like 500 square feet for a decent price. Then was looking around places. Found one that's like we're in like an 800 square foot spot. It's in a big refurbished warehouse that was it's like 115 years old. It's really, really cool. It took a minute to get into the actual building. We were touring a bunch of places on like Fairfield on 46, and like they were much more like officey and not very nice. But really, really happy about the space that we got.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to come see it sometime, for sure.
100%.
For sure. So you in your company, is it just you, or do you have other people who are like working under you or with you?
Yeah. So right now, I'm the owner of the company. I have two. I don't like to say interns. They're college employees because I pay them and they work on my clients,
Sick.
stuff. They help me with like my social media maintenance and copywriting stuff. Um, and then I have a small group of freelancers slash like consultants, I guess you'd say, friends who work in other industries that help put some time into my business that I'm have on payroll. Um, and yeah, different videographers, people like Leo, people like Mike, my ex partner, just like in the web working with me. But yeah, that's the idea is that since it's a collective of creatives, I'm just trying to be, like a larger production studio where I'm able to hire people on the jobs that are needed, and then put my touch onto it, my client experience and all.
And do you feel so? We're talking about collective creatives. I know Leo is super big on that, and we're actually really big on that here in here at Glower as well, and AO Chill. So basically, because like I was saying before, we have three studios that are here, and basically how the functionality of it all is like Iron Audio is mainly working on metal, screamo, heavy rock stuff, right? You got Glow over here that's mainly working, pop, R&B, hip hop, and classical music, recording them. And then over here, I'm doing mainly media stuff, doing interviews and stuff. So we kind of all have each other, and it's like when they get new artists that want to get interviewed, boom, they send them to me. When I get new artists that they've never heard about who are looking for new people to record with, boom, I send it to them. And it's kind of like a collective that all works together, and it's really cool because instead of being like competition, which I think friendly competition is always great, and even sometimes competitive competition. Who cares? Like I think everybody likes a little bit of that, right? But I think it's really great, and especially in our specific industry, in the music industry, you don't see too much collaboration going on, and I'm kind of wondering how that reflects too, like with the photo or filming industry. Like, do you find that certain people are kind of just like, oh, like I'm gonna be the best, and I'm trying to get my clients, or do you find people now, with the newer generation, kind of working more together and having a more open mind to kind of come up together?
Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, I've only been in the industry for so long, so I can't say how it was, but how I've been told. Like my experience with people working together is like through my mentors, seeing his friend group, and it was kind of like whoever could grab the job, they made a little bit more money, and whoever worked the job just worked the job, and that was cool. Um, as I see them all looking, for something more consistent, that's where I'm like, oh well, if you don't have a salesperson, or not a salesperson, but if you don't have like, I guess a salesperson is the word, you don't have the person that's facilitating, mostly to the client, um, because their bread and butter isn't sales. Their bread and butter is maybe being a great director of photography or a great director on projects, but they don't know how to, do the marketing planning, strategic side or whatever it is that would be on the business end. So I'm kind of really, really push that side. So I don't feel too much direct competition with really good creators because I want to use those creators. I know that they're better than me. I'm not going to put the time in to get better than them right now because I have, I'm just trying to build connections, build relationships, let people know that they need these services, and help other people get jobs. So I do know a few, video people who are, pretty tight. They talk, some people like to white label, other companies and all. I'm fine with people communicating. If someone's going to go, if a client's mine going to leave for, one of my people that I work with, like there's probably a reason. That's kind of their loss. That's what I think about it. So I'm not micromanaging those types of connections. But I do think that like a lot of people want to work with other people because they want to be on bigger sets and they want to do better jobs. And I have an uncle who works on like he does like Super Bowl commercials, and he is a partner in this big company. But there's probably like dozens of people that work on every little project. Every 30-second video probably costs $500,000 and has a dozen people on it. To build a house, it doesn't take just the carpenter who you have called to build the house. It takes the person who puts the windows in, does the roofing, it does the siding. Like there's all different jobs. So I think that there's enough to go around, and I'm just trying to put myself in a position that I'm best at, which I think is communicating with the business owners. And then, if I do need to put myself in a camera operator position, then I'm capable of doing that. If I do need to be, I have the gear for the lights, I have that knowledge too. But yeah, just kind of balancing that, a little bit of the selfishness and then a little bit of the collaboration too.
Did you ever have any point where you felt like maybe this wasn't for you, or like it was difficult to kind of get up and continue to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still a roller coaster. It's hard, and have some family saying like, Mike, why don't you just go on LinkedIn and look for a full time? Like fill up your time with something else. I tried to go back to serving or bartending for just a few months. I was like, oh, bolster the bank account a little bit, get a little more security. It lasted like 3 weeks because I just being at the restaurant and having anything else to do related to the business, I was like, I can't be here. I got to go do this work, So,
Yeah, yeah.
so we ended, yeah, like I was great terms with the people who own the restaurant, or the managers of it, but I was like, they're like, we were just like, this isn't working out. So doubling down, after seeing if taking the gas off at all would work, and it's like, no, I'm just gonna, I got to push for it. I don't think that I feel like I've always just had the entrepreneurial mindset. I don't imagine I didn't like being a cog when I was a server. I liked taking the responsibility on for myself and like having the opportunity to do really well. But when I was capped, when they were sharing, tip sharing that didn't make sense and was unfair. Those things kind of I felt throttled me. So I think if I was when I think about going into a job that I went to marketing school and video editing, whatever. But in my business textbook, business classes, there's one class that was marketing. There was one chapter that was digital marketing, and there was like one page that was email marketing. I could get 9 to 5 job that just does email marketing, but like I just feel like that's really throttling when I went to school for HR and Org B and accounting, and so I think that I have a little bit more widespread knowledge to offer. And I think that this is my best. People say now's the time to do it, so I'm taking it as the time to do it.
You seem very like, I like your positive attitude. I like also like, I like too that you said it's a struggle. You know what I mean? Because so far, from when we've talked, I'm like, damn, like this kid seems like pretty clean and cut,
Oh
man. You know
no,
what I mean?
it's so hard.
So what are
It's
some of the
so hard.
struggles that you deal with mostly, like that you find, like, or like, was there ever like an exact moment, like for example, for me, maybe like this February. So we moved into this studio probably around the end of January, and we had a lot of setbacks moving in because we had to get contractors to soundproof the ceilings to our offices. At least our ones inside, because we kind of like the look out here, having the beams out. Man, like whenever you're doing construction or like things get set back, and then like you're dealing with money issues. And at the time, I was still working like my side, like my main gig was a server, and then I'd work side gigs on top of that. And like there was one point where I just got really depressed, and I was like, damn, like I don't know if I'm gonna like do this. Like I don't know if it's gonna work out. Like what if I go balls to the wall and then I lose everything? Like what happens if I fail? And funny enough, I already had a vacation. Like, the vacation is not the answer to fucking like solve your problems. But I think I was just really deep into my work, and then I was just working like so much and trying to make this work that I was just like, I just need to get away. So me and a couple friends, we went out to Florida, and funny enough, I was also actually doing a social media management as trying to make that a side gig as well. And I was working for this one guy's company, and dude, it was just destroying me. And it was I wasn't charging like enough. Like
Mm.
basically, I was doing like full on. I think I was posting. What was I posting? 3 times a day, 7 days a
Lot.
week, and I think I was charging. I think like nothing, bro. I was charging like 600 a month maybe, and I did the first month free.
That hurts.
Yeah. Cause it was my first time actually doing social media management, and like I wanted to prove, like he saw my content and he was just like, I know you can make good content, and it was fitness. He was a fitness guy, right? So it was actually my cousin. I had him on my podcast before, so I did his first month free and shit, and it was just difficult. It was fucking difficult, and it was so much time, and like it was kind of like I guess it's kind of hard with family. You know what I mean? Because like you're kind of arguing back and forth. You're like, I don't think it's worth as much,
Mm.
and I'm trying to look online, and man, people are so. I feel like even like whenever you talk money and shit, your lips get kind of like. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want like you don't want to charge like too much, like more than the other person, but at the same time, I feel like you pay for the person. Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent
No,
there.
no.
Kind of rolling back to the question, like I said, like and working that much kind of had me fucked up, and I wasn't like money was a big thing in my head, and I was like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And so I kind of like it was great because when I went on vacation, the hotel that we booked had the shittiest Wi-Fi, and I couldn't get on my phone for nothing. And on top of it, I had no signal out there. So I was like,
Perfect.
I got away from my phone. I got to just enjoy the beach, enjoy like, Miami and shit. And then like when I got back, I was completely refreshed and I was like, all right, time to get my shit together, back to work. I dropped that, you know what I mean? I told him, listen, I can't social media manage you for anymore, especially for this price. And honestly, even if he paid me like 10 grand, I really wouldn't be happy doing it. I'd just be like, what am I doing every day? Just making this content, and like, and now I want to do shit for my own company. I don't even have the time, So, is there any examples where you feel like you're in that?
Yeah, I mean, like the whole thing's been a struggle. It's always hard, and it costs money to get into the studio and to deck it out, the way that I have, to make sure, I made sure that we had this ground level of gear that at least I could do a high quality, we could have the high quality, So I have like the right lenses. I have some solid camera bodies, stuff that I got hired on set just because the gear that I have. People are like, oh, you have that camera. I'm gonna hire you, for that reason. So made like some pretty big investments right off the bat, which was, I think, warranted. Might be silly one day, but a lot of people say it's not the worst thing to do. So that's always kind of a stressor in the back of the head, knowing that I have to like pay myself back a little bit. Otherwise, I'll be a net negative for this. Um, but all in all, it's been every day is a roller coaster, and every minute's a roller coaster. I'll wake up some mornings. I mean, I used to have trouble sleeping, which was rough. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and be like 2 in the morning, just mind racing, and that was really stressful and that was exhausting. There'll be some weeks where I'll just be like 1 minute super super happy, like literally feeling like on top of the world, like I'm on something else, like be like this is awesome, and then the next minute be like, oh wait, like and be like crazy depressed and being like this is not gonna work out. Like check my bank account, and it's not really about money, but it's hard sometimes to be like, no, it is about money. Like the bottom line's money. Like you gotta like have
Yeah.
that in your mind a little bit. Because I can be too carefree and maybe spend too much money on my gear or whatnot, that kind of thing. So I've had to not reel myself back from that type of stuff, but be like, it's like the balance of not taking it too seriously, and you gotta take it kind of seriously. And there's like a little bit of hard lines here, and keep adding up. Like, oh well, I booked this project this much money. If I want to make this much money this year, how many of these projects do I have to sell? That's a lot of projects I have to sell. I don't know that many people, kind of thing. So I'm just trying to trust the process as much as I can, though. Just trying to continue to put time in. It's definitely like all on me, though. Like I'm the one who's pushing the envelope every day. Even though I have people who are, in the scope of in like the ecosystem of what I'm doing, they're not really. I'm not giving them like a base salary pays, so they're not really like pushing that much. I did have points where I was hiring a graphic designer for like 2 months and whatnot, and that having like I've had like really productive times where like someone's given me something like every day we're working on something new from in my company and whatever, and then there's been like slower times, and all in all it's been an upward trend though, so I just kind of keep reminding myself about that. But yeah, the emotions are just it's crazy, it's hectic, and imposter syndrome is real for sure, because like at what point do you say I've succeeded and I not just I started a business, but I own a business that's running, so sometimes people say like, oh yeah, you're doing your little business thing, and then other people are like, oh, it's crazy, you started a business, you have people on payroll, and I'm like, it's somewhere in between, like I'm doing good work, I'm in the process, but I think I'm in a good spot for the 9 month period, so I'm just trying to just trust it.
Yeah, sometimes it's day by day, week by week, month by month. You know what I mean? And then building up to a point where you could be like, all right, good, I'm pretty much set for the year. Do you do anything on the side besides photography to kind of keep your mind like out of like like some fog?
I mean, it's been hard. I tore my ACL.
Oh
Like,
shit, dude! I'm
yeah,
so sorry,
no,
dude.
it
Did you
was
get the
rough.
surgery yet?
Yeah. So I tore my ACL December of 2020. December 2020.
What were you doing?
I was skiing.
Ah, don't
Yeah,
say that. Don't say that.
yeah. I love skiing. It's like my big passion. And I was like, I'm gonna take this whole winter. Like, I don't have a job. The other business thing just fell through. I was like, all right, that's over. I just I've been bartending. I have some money in my bank, and COVID's still huge. So I'm just gonna spend this month and do a ski bum winter. So I was like, whatever, going out nonstop. I did 12 days in December, which is like more than I ever do in a year usually. On the 12th day, spent all day in the trees, and at the very end of the day, tried to do a new trick. Did a 360 off of like a big booter jump, and landed wrong and popped my ACL. It was partially torn, and then I started surfing again. And then 6 months later, they were like, "Oh, it's completely torn. You got to do the surgery." So I got surgery in June of 2021, got touch-up surgery in April of 2022.
Touch-up surgery.
Like I had a big ball of scar tissue the size of a walnut behind my ACL, so I couldn't finish extending it. And then a bunch of fluid built up in it. So like 6 weeks ago, they took out like 40 milliliters of fluid or something, and now it's pretty okay. But I do a lot of PT, so 3 times a week, 2 hours every time. I'm doing PT. I used to work out a ton, used to box, was lifting, was doing like yoga, meditation, like trying to do all those self-care things. Unfortunately, all that PT and the business has kind of pushed a lot out to the side. So I'm trying to refocus a lot of those things I enjoy and like the self-care stuff that's outside of the business and getting camera work and all that. But it's also hard because as stress, business doesn't get easier. I mean, I just hear it gets harder. It's like building a skyscraper. Every story you go up, it just becomes more daunting to build another story. It's harder to progress. So I'm trying to catch myself now before it gets too late. Even
Hey, dude, if it makes you feel any better, dude. ACL buddies, man.
There you go.
ACL buddies for life.
It's rough.
I actually I tore my ACL completely and slightly I had a tear in my meniscus. And I was playing soccer. That's my gig. At least it used to be. And actually, I stepped in like we were playing on this field, and I stepped in a freaking hole, and I heard a pop, and then I tried to get up, couldn't get up, and I was like, "Fuck!" And I was like, "I might be fucked." Went home. I felt like it was getting a little bit better, but I still was trouble walking. You go to the orthopedic. Fucks around with your knee, and he's like, "You're addicted." And I'm like, "All right, well, we'll see how it goes." But it's funny because that happened, I believe, in like May or June. No. That actually happened sometime, I feel like, in like February. And then I was getting the surgery in June. And I had to hike Machu Picchu in August.
No way.
So I was like, damn. So I was like, I got to figure this shit out. So had the surgery. Surgery went really well. I have an amazing orthopedic surgeon, and he fixed me up, went to PT, and I did PT every single day, dude. Like, just went there every single day, just worked on my shit, did all the stretches. Definitely suggest, if you're doing any stretches at home, do them, bro. It's like when somebody's like, oh, you want to lift? He's like, do some push-ups at home. Do 20 push-ups, do 100 push-ups at home. Like, you'll see your body start to get, like, better built. But you want to know what nobody does? He does 100 push-ups at home. Ended up like doing the 2 months of PT, hiked Machu Picchu, and from there was history, dude.
That's rad.
I mean, now I'm like, my knee feels like 100%. I'm actually getting back into soccer.
That's awesome.
Recently. But yeah, dude, fuck. I
glad
wish
to
you
hear
the best
that.
of
Thank
luck
you.
with that, man, for sure.
Yeah.
'Cause as long as you work on it, bro, like it'll come out just
No, it's getting
fine.
better and better. It's just been it's been tricky.
You haven't been skiing at all, right?
I haven't skied at all. Yeah, planning some backpacking trips this summer. I have some indoor passes for big snow. So I'm going to do some indoor skiing when I can this summer.
Sick, dude, sick. I had a question in mind that I was just forgetting. With your employees, right? How do you come about like paying them? Like, how much do you know how to pay them? Do you base it based on just like the work in general, or do you pay them hourly, salary? Like,
Yeah, it definitely depends on what it is. So I usually ask people what their rates are. People often undervalue themselves. So I'm not going to argue with them if that's the rate that they want. Sometimes like, if it's a good friend, I'll say, I like this rate, but you might want to ask for a higher rate from someone else. I mean, for my college employees, one of them got college, like credit for it. So I gave them, minimum wage just as, student employees who want the experience. Otherwise, yeah, it kind of depends what the budget allows for projects. So if it's like, my graphic designer, we just have an hourly rate. And, if I need a project, he'll say it's probably gonna be this many hours. And I say, okay, cool. And then that's what I'll, budget for that project. And yeah, people just have different rates. If I have a sound guy, it might be like $600 a day for the sound person for the day. And then I just make sure that that's budgeted into the projects. And I'm paying them through like an ADP payroll service, which is, simple enough, keeps my, all my paperwork in line. Yeah, I haven't really had many issues with, paying people. It's just they tell you what the rate is, and I just know who's expensive and who's, not very expensive, who I can use for smaller projects.
So do any of these people like because I feel like it takes a lot to actually be like a business owner. It takes a lot to actually do this stuff and build it all together. What is kind of like some of your inspirations that keep you going in this? And like, like I know you went to school for all of this, but like Like what keeps you motivated to keep going?
Yeah, I think like just the drive for like freedom. Like I don't want to be a slave to a 9 to 5. Mac Miller has a song, Brand Name, says F a 9 to 5. I'd rather end up dead or in jail. That's gonna be. I had my graduation. I'm gonna decorate that on my cap.
Sick.
Post graduation, I'm gonna be hanging that up on my wall. But I mean, I just think that having those constraints and like being tied to something. There's so many people who I hear are like 60, 70, and they're like, I wish I spent more time with my kids or this, that. And me being like 20 something and wanting to hang out with, missing opportunities because I spent so much time serving and bartending and being like, oh, I missed out on a good amount of life because I focused on work. And people have financial freedom, and that's what keeps them working, or keeps people. If they don't have financial freedom, what's what keeps them from stopping work? Um, I just think that a lot of people who make money are business owners, are people who started for themselves and are just not just a cog. I think that's important to I know people just prefer not to be the guy in charge, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think I started on with taking a little bit of that responsibility, and I'm feeling comfortable doing it, and I've been enjoying it so far. Um, yeah, I don't know. I hope that hopefully there's a point where I'm like, oh yeah, this is like exactly right for me. It's definitely still scary because I've only had successes for the most part, and there's going to be downs, like bigger downs than what I have right now. So it's like, it's more about like whether I can weather that in the future. But I just hear so many people talk about, I don't know, when you just hear that like money isn't real and that people charge a ton of money for, stuff that's, not very difficult to do and whatnot. I think that I can, I'm competitive in being able to provide people value. So just trying to stay on top of it.
For sure. And it's like, do you see yourself staying in Jersey and doing work? Or do you see yourself, I don't know, moving out to Cali, moving out to Texas, where all these other people, big businesses are going?
Yeah, I mean, definitely as a, trying to be on the producer side, it allows me to be a little bit more on the remote side also. So, see where I want to be, in the future. I love Jersey because I love being like within an hour from the city. I love being, within an hour from the woods or something. Hudson Valley is gorgeous. Went to school up there, so like love being around there. So I'm not really like wanting for other parts of the country to be living there per se. Just warmer, I guess. Is if Jersey gets a little warmer in the winter or snow more, one or the other. Make a
Yeah.
decision. Um, but I'm speaking to someone right now about starting a sales position. Like commission based sales thing, where if they can pick up a job, then they can get a cut, or I'll tell them the rate for the job and they can charge whatever they want. If they land it, they land it. And then so I think I'm going to be trying to get down more towards Florida, call up like I'm my family has a like aunts and uncles and all have a condo down in Florida in a small neighborhood. So I think one of my first goals is to call like all the businesses within one of the neighboring towns and just see if I can, hey, I'm going to be in Florida for this week. Would love to stop by and do, work with your business, give them some recommendations about what we could do, and then start doing more remote work and just being able to bounce around, travel, and if I can like enable myself to do things I enjoy in work, like traveling and being able to mesh that together, then I'll be trying to do that as much as I can.
Word. And do you feel like, because would you consider yourself like a pretty much a Jersey boy in the sense, like, do you feel proud to be in the state at all?
Yeah, yeah, especially because like I love the area I'm in because it's not what people think about when they think of Jersey. They think of Newark, but like I'm up in the woods. So I'm like, whenever people drive up to my area, especially like the back roads around here on Boone Ave, they're always like, "Oh wow, this drive was like nuts," and I'm definitely spoiled by it. But yeah, I love showing people the things about Jersey and showing people the neighborhood. And yeah,
What do you think are some of your favorite things about Jersey is?
I mean, I love like the lush green. Like I'll always be driving up my area, and there's like canopy of trees over me. I feel like it's like very pretty magical. But then you can just be going right across like a big reservoir. I mean, I'd say that I don't think that Mountain Creek counts as skiing, so I don't even like to say that we're like close to skiing. Um, yeah, I mean, I just think it's like going between the city vibes to the, you can go to the beach, you can go to the city, you can go to like, there's a bunch of cute small towns, Montclair, Madison, like Main Street's on Boonton Ave, or in Boonton. That's like, I think that's just, great. There's so much and it's so close. Everything's like 30, 40 minutes away. And there's, it's hard pressed to find something like much further away, from that. Even me, when I'm like kind of in the middle of nowhere, people say that Canon's in the middle of nowhere and that I have to tell people I'm from Wayne. Um, yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone who is like doing what you're doing now or trying to get into this game?
Definitely say that relying on other people isn't a bad thing. It's important to take whoever it is that wants to help you and ring it for all it's worth and give a good thank you. I've just learned so much from other people who've done it before me, and just little like tips and tricks, and um, YouTube University taught me a ton,
Oh,
and that's
YouTube University. I love that. I love that. I
yeah,
say the same shit all the time, bro.
yeah. And I mean, like I take it the same as going to my mentors or going. I've just learned so much from people about business that outside of school is just super applicable. Um, it's hard sometimes to turn that off and be like, you're not learning now. You gotta like do the work and get the experience of real life too. But yeah, I mean, you have to be realistic, but I'm going balls to the walls, all or nothing, going for broke. All those phrases are applicable to me. So I'd say it's important to, believe in yourself and to not try to fall into imposter syndrome because, when people compliment you more often than, a lot of people just don't say anything. So if you're getting anyone supporting you, then that means a lot. And I've definitely had people supporting me. So I think that you just gotta trust the process, and I think networking and connecting with people is the biggest thing. Being a server, I thought that the best way to connect with someone is honestly caring about who they are as a person. So when I heard about their life or whatever it is, it's like, oh, that's awesome. Like someone's on their anniversary, think about my parents and be like, that's great. I see how they love each other. I'm happy that you guys love each other. Like I can make those connections and feel a lot of empathy for people. So I think that's been a big advantage for like networking. And when I go to like a big networking event and I meet someone, I've been told that I'm like pretty earnest, and it's because I actually care. Like more often than not, I'm one to, I don't know, you have to put people above yourself, and people notice when that happens and they're gonna pay it back in return. So it's only been beneficial to me. I think it's important.
Word, dude. Well, my guy, we're getting pretty close to the end of the podcast. I did want to open it up to like anything that you didn't get off your chest or anything that you felt like you wanted to talk about. If not, I have a couple more questions for you and then we could call it. But do you have anything on your mind that you really want to get off your chest?
No, I don't think anything specifically. My big things are just networking with people, caring about your small businesses, and making sure that you're pushing value, that you value yourself. I feel like that's like the big things I talk about with other creatives is make sure that you're charging the money that you're worth
Word.
and that you're connecting with as many people as possible.
So here are now my last couple questions for you. My first one being, how do you find the value for yourself? Because I feel like everybody has such a different way of going about it. Even with me, like, I'm trying to compare prices with other people. Maybe this is a better way to put it. How do you charge what you believe you're worth without comparing yourself to other people?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to know like the value that the person's getting from your work, because if they don't need it, then they shouldn't be hiring you to do it. Like if it's valuable to them, then that's something that you should be working on. But people ask me for projects and offer a low budget, and it's like I can tell that this just the payout for you isn't even that great. So like, is it worth me putting my time in when it's my business? No. And I think that you have to differentiate that you're not doing it for fun anymore. Like pretend that you're doing accounting work when you're on the clock for your editing job or your creative job. Like maybe taking photos for me is not very painful, which is good. Maybe we think that work should be painful, but when I'm sitting there snapping photos, that's the same as, an accountant doing their work or, whatever it is. So taking yourself like really seriously that the time you're doing is work, and knowing what your expenses are and saying, I have to make this much money to survive. And I need to make this much money to be motivated. That's like the big thing for me. I'll say like, yeah, maybe I need this much money. But if I want to actually like be motivated by the job, maybe because I get a few extra bucks or whatever it is. And if it's not because I'm motivated so much by the project itself, then maybe it does just cost more money for me to be happy about doing the job, and being okay with getting said no to. I'd rather book a $10,000 job and say, like I'd rather tell like a bunch of people 10,000 and book one of them than tell everyone 2,000 and book 20 of them. Like it's just you're gonna die, you're gonna burn out, and it's not worth it, and you're gonna hate your craft more at the end of it, and your assets are gonna be more burnt out. Like you're gonna be spending more time on your computer editing, you're gonna be more hours into everything, and all the overhead. It just makes more sense for me to be like consolidated and tell people like this is what I'm looking for and this is the standard I have, because in my world of networking, if I start doing photos for people, headshots are $50, then someone's going to go to someone else and do word of mouth and say, hey, $50 headshots, I'm going to do $50 headshots all day long. But if I say $400 headshots, I might get one person who says that, and then someone's like, oh, I really like the headshot, oh, it's really good, yeah, but this person costs $400. maybe that person's like, wow, that's crazy. They go talk to someone else and say, I heard about a headshot photographer who charges $400. And that person might be like, that's probably really good. I'm going to go book that guy. Like, you never know how they're going to talk about you. And you have to make sure that you're setting the precedent because you can't control how people view it after it goes outside your initial sphere of influence. So I think that just having holding a high reputation for yourself and pricing yourself also like a year ahead. Like, how much money do I want to make in a year? I have to price myself at that right now. And because I'm going to want to raise my prices over that course of the year. I want to get clients right now that are clients in a year that are comfortable with where I'm at. I think it's a kind of combination of all those kind of things.
Weird. I think that's great. I think there's a lot of gems in there. That's a great way of putting it. My second question, because I have three. My second one is, do you think there's anything lacking in Jersey that is allowing creators to come together and actually collaborate? And if so, what can be done so people could collaborate more?
I'd like to see a little bit more of like I see like Facebook groups of creatives and freelancers. And maybe it's, this is what kind of I see my business growing into one day, is just having this like big web, maybe it's networking groups, maybe it's, parties or whatever that people do. But building these creators together. I know companies who try to do it, but I think they're also a little bit on the less networky side in general. So they don't really do such a great job of being such a strong company. And then also having the freelancer, I don't know, it's just an interesting energy. I see ad clubs, like advertising clubs, and I see networking groups of small businesses, where I'll see people who consider themselves small businesses like I do, as opposed to just freelancers. But I haven't seen like a group of all together, the freelancers and small business creatives together, in a sustained way outside of like one event or, one Facebook group where people, post jobs sometimes. So I'd kind of like to see a greater network of young and emerging creatives in the freelance world, as well as small agency owners. I think that'd be beneficial for everybody.
Sweet. Sweet, dude. I agree. I 100% agree. My last question for you. If you could go back, mm, if you could go back to the time where you first decided that, hey, this is going to be the thing that I pursue, what advice would you give yourself?
I think at the time that I, said I wanted to do this business and everything, I think that either there's probably two things I would do: have line up my business plan a little bit more, like school told me to. I had like a very light business plan, but learning about all of your competitors and going like I looked up a few businesses and was like, oh yeah, there's a few video companies. But what would have been really good is to reach out to each of those companies and say, hey, can you tell me about what you do? What are your challenges? What, like, people would have gladly talked to me especially if I didn't have a company yet. They'd been like, oh yeah, I'll chat with them for 5 minutes about whatever, not competition. So I think that having like a better understanding of what I was getting into and like all the different things that there were, like there's so many new things to uncover all the time. You're like, oh crap, I have to do that now. I have to do that now. Was definitely daunting. And even though I like my studio a lot and I like all the gear I have a lot, I think that if I was starting over, just knowing that like overhead matters. And I've definitely paid people to do things that weren't necessary, or had people involved and weren't clear about, what the terms of payment were, and I just kind of had to bite the bullet at one point. I'm definitely satisfied with the amount of money I've invested and that I've earned profit wise and all that, but like it could have been done better. Obviously, my first try, I'm very proud of how it worked out, but I think that understanding all the things that come with overhead and you know, luckily, I'm just very happy that I've come out on top because like I'll look at my stuff and be like, dang, I could have. It just went, if I just didn't get this job or these people didn't connect me, things could be a little bit hairier. But yeah, overall, I think I've done solid because I've just been relying on everyone else, and I think that a lot of people feel a little, a strong connection with what I'm doing, and I'm trying to. I think I've dropped a little bit of like ownership in a lot of people's, hearts, and like they want to see me succeed, which has been really cool.
Sick, dude. Sick. I agree. 100%, my dude. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure listening to you and seeing where your journey is. And it's actually really cool because I think probably whenever the next time you want to come on, bro, you're more than welcome to. Hopefully a year from now, we'll see you grow and blossom. It's really
for
great.
sure.
let the people know where they could catch you online, Instagram, social medias, websites, whatever.
For sure. My personal is Harrison M615 on Instagram. Trying to grow that one. Business stuff is at Colony Media Co. ColonyMediaCo.com. Instagram, Facebook. Add me on LinkedIn, Michael Harrison or Colony Media. All about LinkedIn. Yeah, there's some good spots to find me.
Sweet, dude. And guys, y'all already know the business. AO Chill Podcast, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I started saying this in June in Jersey because it's funny, but I want to see who does it. OnlyFans. Add me on the first person to follow me on OnlyFans will get a free sticker and maybe a free t-shirt. So go follow me on there. But guys, that's it. Let's get the fuck out of here, my boy. How was it for you, man?
That was awesome.
Cool?
Yeah.